BRAINY presents 8 uncomfortable truths about people who hate being alone. For introverts, being alone is usually easy. It's a natural and comfortable state for them. And while extroverts generally crave more social interaction, even they can be okay with being by themselves sometimes. But have you ever noticed that some people just really hate being alone? Like they always need to be around others, or they get really anxious and uncomfortable. What's the deal with that? Although it's not uncommon to feel lonely or isolated when alone, for some folks, that feeling can be overpowering and even debilitating. And there are several explanations for that. Let's dive a bit deeper and uncover some uncomfortable truths about why some people have an unhealthy aversion to being alone. Number 1, they likely have a deep fear of abandonment. More often than not, people who really don't like being alone have an intense fear of abandonment. This fear is usually rooted in childhood experiences where the person was abandoned by caregivers or other loved ones. As adults, these fears manifest themselves in different ways. Some people are afraid that their partner will leave them, while others are afraid that they will be left by friends or family members if they don't spend enough time with them. And one of the ways they deal with this fear is by avoiding solitude as much as possible. So while on the outside it may seem like they're social butterflies, in reality, the only reason they seek constant contact with others is to avoid feeling alone and abandoned. And sometimes this can land them in some pretty unhealthy relationships. Number 2, they struggle with low self-esteem. People who hate being alone are often dealing with low self-esteem issues. They feel like they need to be around other people at all times to feel good about themselves. Unfortunately, this can lead to a lot of conflict in relationships, as well as a lot of stress and worry when there are no people around. Someone with low self-esteem tends to have difficulty setting boundaries in relationships. They may become too independent on their partner and cling to them, which can be suffocating for the other person. Then when they're by themselves, they're faced with the challenge of having nothing to distract them from their own thoughts. And if those thoughts aren't great, then being alone can be downright depressing. Number 3, they find it hard to trust themselves and their judgment. One of the most uncomfortable truths about people who hate being alone is that they may find it hard to trust themselves and their judgment. This fear can stem from a lack of confidence in their own abilities or a fear of making the wrong choice. As a result, they rely heavily on others to make decisions for them, even if they can make those choices on their own. This can lead to a pattern of dependence that can be difficult to break. Number 4, they have difficulty finding their own sense of purpose and identity. When someone has a hard time being alone, it can be difficult to develop a strong sense of self and find purpose in life. They often have trouble identifying their interests, values, and goals because they are so focused on fitting in with others and avoiding being alone. In some cases, these individuals prioritize the needs and wants of others over their own, hindering the development of their personality. They may feel pressure to conform to the expectations of those around them or to adopt their interests and hobbies rather than exploring their own passions. For this reason, those who dislike being alone feel like they are just a part of the group rather than having their own unique identity. They may struggle to stand out or to assert themselves, and this can be an obstacle when it comes to developing meaningful relationships or pursuing personal goals. Number 5, they can be overly dependent on others for emotional support. People who hate being alone tend to be overly dependent on others for emotional support. In fact, they often have a hard time getting by without it. This can result in awkward situations because a person who needs constant reassurance from others won't be able to handle life well on their own. And if you're the one who provides this reassurance, you might find yourself struggling to keep up with their demands. Number 6, they have a fear of missing out. This fear of missing out can be especially challenging in today's world, where social media and other technologies make it easy to stay connected with others and see what they're up to. People who don't like solitude feel pressure to constantly check their phones or social media accounts to stay up to date on what others are doing, and this can further reinforce their fear of missing out. For some, avoiding being alone is a top priority, and they go to great lengths to achieve it. This can mean sacrificing their own needs and saying yes to social invitations, even when they don't really want to go. Number 7, they need constant validation and attention. It's no secret that those who hate being alone are usually quite dependent on the validation and attention of others. This need can arise from various sources. Some people may have a fear of rejection, which causes them to constantly seek out approval as a way of avoiding feelings of inadequacy or unworthiness. Others may have a deep-seated desire to feel important or valued, which can lead to a constant need for attention. Basically, these folks have a hard time feeling good about themselves unless they have someone around to tell them that they're doing great or to give them a little boost of confidence. Number 8. They feel bored or unfulfilled without constant stimulation or activity. People who strongly dislike being alone tend to feel bored or unfulfilled when there is nothing for them to do. This is likely because their fast-paced, socially oriented lifestyle makes it challenging to adapt to a slower, solitary pace. They need constant stimulation or activity to keep their minds occupied, and they struggle with feelings of restlessness or anxiety when they're not engaged in something stimulating. Also, these individuals can feel unfulfilled without the presence of others. This tendency likely stems from a desire to seek meaning through social interactions, making it difficult to experience the same level of fulfillment when alone. They often feel a sense of emptiness or dissatisfaction when not surrounded by others. There is much more to be said about this, but for now, suffice it to say that there can be several uncomfortable explanations why some people really hate being alone. But whatever the reason for one's aversion to solitude, it's always best to be understanding and avoid judging others for their preferences. And if you're someone who just can't stand being alone, it's important that you learn how to cope with your feelings of loneliness, rather than just avoid them. Otherwise, you risk completely becoming dependent on other people for your happiness and fulfillment in life. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so we can keep making them. For more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to click on the notification bell. Also, be sure to check out our other videos as well. Thanks for watching.